Alright, in this episode I'm going to go over gears and special equipment. Okay, so special equipment are anything that helps your unit in any one of the five, or what is it, actually six different stats. They are like special weapons or special armors or different types of electronical equipment, and they come in two different forms. There's special equipment that are already built into your machine, and those are denoted by the colored squares and circles on your stat dial. And then there are gears, which have what the special equipment is and what it does, and a little stick that you can pop out of the card and stick it into your on the side of your heat dial in one of the little slots, like a little paddle. There are, oh jeez, see, I can never get through a thing. There are six different colors. There are 35 what I call common special equipment. They come in six different colors, and each color applies to one, and each stat on your dial, ballistic damage, energy damage, melee damage, speed, attack, and defense, has one of those colors, except for melee damage, which doesn't have purple. And the six colors are red, blue, green, black, gray, and purple. So there are 35 common equipment that can be found already built into a mech. And then the gears are other things that are not always the common ones. They can be special ones that have their own text. Gears also and special equipment also come in two varieties: square and circle. Squares you can use indefinitely. Circles are single use. Every time you use it, you take one damage. You can only use one equipment per value at a time unless it says otherwise. So if you have evade on your dial, already printed on your dial, and you also have a gear that gives you camouflage, you can't use both unless maybe the gear says may be used with other non-camouflage speed special equipment. So yeah, you can only have one. You can only use one special equipment at one time, and they don't stack. So if you have an evade on your dial already, and you also have an evade as a gear, you're not going to get +4 to your defense. You're just going to be able to use one of the evades at a time. Gears usually have more staying power than printed on special equipment. They gears will last through your entire dial, that you can use them until you hit salvage. Special equipment usually are knocked offline, but usually early on before that point. Shutdown mechs cannot use optional special equipment, gear, or printed on the dial. A unit that has salvage may not use gears unless the gear says otherwise in the card text. So that's some basic rules with gears, and here's some tips using them. If you have a unit and it doesn't have let's say you have I don't know, whatever mech, and you want it to have evade, so you have an evade gear. Instead, try finding a unit that already has one of the common 35 special equipment, like evade, before, because it might be cheaper to try to find a unit that has evade rather than paying for the unit without evade and then also paying the extra points to equip with the gear, and you're also wasting one of your gear slots for one of the common 35 special equipment. Use gears that complement your your style of play. If you are big on defense, then use decoys and heavy armors and camouflage. If you like to do as much damage as you can. Use pulse and other special equipment cards, gear cards that are one of the more special ones. Make sure you think twice about using circle-shaped gears, okay? Because they do damage to you. So, okay, let's say you have, heavy, well, not heavy armor because that's not optional. Let's say you have improved targeting. Okay, improved targeting, you're allowed to reroll 1 die. If you're using it against maybe a mech that's got 23 defense, and if it's a circle-shaped improved targeting, that would be use it, right? Because you might not make the roll to beat the 23 defense. So you take 1 damage, but at least you get to succeed in your attack, or there's a pretty good chance you will. If you don't use it against something that's only got like a 17 defense, because if you have 10 attack, you got to roll a 7. That's pretty easy to make. You don't want to take 1 damage just for that little for that easy roll. Okay. Use gears that work well against your opponent. If you're doing a build that you take turns on, like you pick a unit, then your opponent picks a unit, then you pick a unit, then your opponent. Keep track of what units they pick, and try to use, if you're going to use gears, or get units with special equipment that work well against your opponent's units. Just keep track of what your opponent's picking. Leave room in your build for gear swapping. If you've already pre-made an army and you have 1 mech and you can't choose which gear you want, whether you want it to have evade or camouflage or whatever, choose the most expensive gear out of the few you've selected and use that in your build, and then build the rest of your army. Then if you want to, you can always change out the most expensive gear and put in a cheaper one, so you'll always have room. And if you have extra room, you can even add in a few more units if you wanted to. Yeah, so leave room in your build for gear swapping. Take a few gears with you, so you can match up to your opponent's armies, and unless it's already pre-made and you can't change it, and however you and your friends are playing the rules in building your armies. Also, I don't think I wrote this on the tips, use gears that work well with the terrain you're going to use. If there's a lot of blocking terrain, use streak missiles so you can stand behind those big mountains and just use your missiles to shoot past them without any big penalties. If you got a lot of hindering terrain, use camouflage so you get +2 defense. That's really good gear. And the other gears that aren't, or special equipment that aren't of the 35 common ones, because there's a whole bunch of them. There's plenty of gears. You'll find one that works well for you. Okay, so that's it for gears. I guess next I'm gonna do pilots. Thanks. Bye.